Hello Year 7, I hope you're all safe and well and have enjoyed your Easter holidays and are ready to get back to some work. Today we're going to have a look at how to do translation from Latin into English, which is something that we haven't really done a lot of so far. Okay, before you start, you need to have some of these highlighter pens. Okay, I've got a nice selection here. I know some of you will have lots of these and some of you will have absolutely none whatsoever. If you haven't got a highlighter pen, please try and get one. If not, one of these multicoloured pens will do, these clicky pens, but not as great as a highlighter pen. Okay. The other thing that you will need is a piece of paper. I've got my whiteboard here to help me. You will need your Latin critical content booklet, and you will need a copy of the translation that has come home for you. Okay, so how do we do translation into English? Well, the very first thing that we do is we take our highlighter pen and we highlight the names in the title. Okay? It says translate the following passage into good English, then answer the comprehension grammar questions which follow, and the title is Julius and Lepidina at home. So we highlight the word Julius and we highlight the word Lepidina. They've got capital letters, their names, and we all know hopefully that the only time when we are going to see a capital letter in our passage of Latin is when we have got the name of a person or an animal or a place, a proper noun. Okay, so we know that these two people are called Julius and Lepidina. We look at the first line of the passage and we see there Julius. Okay, so can anybody tell me why we've got an I there instead of a J? Hopefully you all know, and you're all shouting at me that there is no J in Latin. Okay, so he's Julius, and there's the name Lepidina. Okay, so why do we need the Latin critical content booklet? Well, the answer to that is very straightforward. If you turn the pages, you will get to a section which says verbs, the present tense, and there we've got the endings OST, mustis, NT, so make sure that you've got that handy. And if I move it further up, you will see that nasty irregular verb to be, sum es est, sumus estis sunt, all of which you've learnt and done in the exam before Easter. So make sure that you've got that page handy. The other thing that you are going to need from this critical content booklet, and I'm going to keep turning over the pages here, is this section where we have got all the vocabulary. Okay, so you are going to need to look at this vocabulary to help you. It's all in alphabetical order, and everything that you need for a translation will be on these following pages. Okay, so let's make a start then. Okay, so we look at, and I'll just move that up there we go, Julius and Lepidina at home. Okay, so we look at the first sentence. We've got Julius et Lepidina in villa magna prope Londinium habitant. Okay. Now, when we do a translation into Latin, the very first thing that we do is to find the verb. Now, we know that our verbs are going to end in OST, mustis, NT, or they'll be sum es est, sumus estis sunt, and that a verb normally stands at the end of a Latin sentence, unless it's that sum es est, sumus estis sunt, in which case it might well stand in the middle. But it will stand at the end of a sentence or the end of a clause. Okay, so let's have a look for something with the right ending, first of all, in that sentence. So where is the verb? If we look along each word, where is the OST, mustis, NT? It's here, it's habitant. So I'm going to highlight that verb habitant. I'm going to take my pen. I'm going to look up my endings in my critical content book. I'm going to see that if I have the ending NT on the end of a verb, it's going to be they. So I'll move that pen out of the way. I know that that is going to be they. I'll look up the verb habitant in my critical content booklet. Here we go, it's under the H. There's habitas, which means you live. So if we've got habitant, we know that it's therefore going to mean they live. Now we need to know who is the they at the beginning of the sentence. Okay, so we look, here we go. Julius et Lepidina. Julius and Lepidina. So we translate Julius and Lepidina. Then we go to the verb at the end of the sentence. Live. Where do they live? Now we come back one word at a time. In a house big. Now obviously that doesn't make sense in English, does it? Remember what I told you about adjectives. They normally come after the word they describe. So English says blue pen, Latin would say pen blue. So it's not in a house big, it's in a big house. Then you probably need to look at the word proper. It means near Londinium, London. We know that's the name of a place, a proper noun, because it's got a capital letter. So we end up with Julius and Lepidina live in a big town near London. Okay, now we've got the next sentence. Hortum magnum habent. Okay, first of all, I'd like you to find me the verb. Are you all screaming at me, habent? I hope so, because there's my verb. Then think to yourself, who's doing the action? Look it up in your critical content book if you need to. Press pause if you need to. Who's doing the action if it ends in an NT again? It's they. Then if you look in your critical content booklet, you'll see the word habeo, and it means I have. So habent must therefore mean they have. Now, is there something else at the beginning of the sentence that is they, or is it still Julius and Lepidina? So we look and we see hortum magnum. Hortus is the word for a garden. Can the garden be they? No, it can't. So it's still Julius and Lepidina. They have, what do they have? Literally, a garden big, turn it round, a big garden. Then, in horto est parvo nomine scuto. Now, scuto's got a capital letter, so it can't be a verb. It has to be a noun, has to be a person or a thing. Okay. So our verb isn't at the end of the sentence this time. So we're going to look for part of sum es est, sumus estis sunt, because we know that that verb does not necessarily stand at the end of the sentence. So where have we got part of sum es est, sumus estis sunt? Here it is, est in the middle. Okay, so in horto, horto is from hortus. It's changed its ending because it's not the subject and it's not the object of the sentence, it's after a preposition. So in the garden, est is, and then you need to look up this word parvo, which is a peacock. So in the garden is a peacock, nomine scuto, called scuto. Then we look through the next one and we see what verbs we can come up with here. Now, this sentence is a bit more tricky because if you look through it, first of all, we get to the word est. Sum es est, sumus estis sunt. We know that's part of the verb to be. But if we go to the end of the sentence as well, we'll see the word consumet. Okay, O-S-T. So that's a verb as well. Okay, so we've got two verbs in our sentence. So what we're going to do now is to make life easy for ourselves. Okay, we're going to put a line between est and quod. Okay. We're going to translate everything up to that line and then stop. And then we're going to translate everything after that line up until the full stop. Okay. Those of you that like riding, I always imagine this to be like a jump that a horse goes over. Because if you think about it, when you're in a riding competition and you've got your horse going over jumps, your horse does everything up to the jump that it needs to. It goes in the right direction. It follows whatever direction it's supposed to be going in, and then it clears the jump. When it's cleared the jump, it doesn't suddenly go backwards and jump backwards. It goes on to the next thing. So imagine this is like a horse jumping fences. The horse does everything up until the first jump, then it goes over the jump, and it does everything after it. It doesn't go backwards and forwards. Okay, so we've got est is he, she, or it is. Who's the he, she, or it at the beginning of the sentence? It's Scuto. Okay, so we've got Scuto is obesus et ignavus, fat and lazy. Why is he fat and lazy? Quod, because. Semper, look that up in your critical content booklet. It means always. What's he always doing? Consumet, he's always eating. Okay. So then we move on to the next sentence. Let's find the verbs there. We've got habent, and where's the next verb? Est. So what are we going to do again? Because we've got two verbs in the sentence. Exactly what we did in the previous one. We are going to put that line there, and we're going to imagine that we've got a horse jumping over it. Okay, so first of all, we look at that word habent. It ends in an NT, so checking in our critical content booklet and the endings, this is going to be they. Okay, it's habent, and we know that habeo, we had it over here, is the verb to have, so we're going to translate this as they have. Now, who is the they? Is there somebody else at the beginning of the sentence that's the they, or are we looking back at Julius and Lepidina? Okay, well, this is where we need to look at our endings. So, sorry, just went black there. We get a different highlighter pen and we have a look at the endings. We've got an OS over here and an AS over here. Okay, we turn in our critical content booklet, and I'm just going to press pause here whilst I find my critical content booklet and the right page, and then I'll come back to you in a moment. Okay, so this is the page that you want in your critical content booklet. It's the one that says the accusative, okay? And this is the bit that you need to look at. In Latin, masculine and feminine nouns must change their ending when they're the object. So masculine nouns remove the S and add M, and OS in the plural. Feminine words add an M and an AS in the plural. Okay, so what have we got back over here? We've got an OS, and an AS here. So we know that they are the object, they are the accusative. Okay, so who's the they? It's still Julius and Lepidina. They have, what do they have? Multos servos, many slaves, et multas ancilas, and many slave girls. Why do they have them? Quod, because, then that word est is, so it is a villa maxima, a very big house. Or you could say because the house is very big. Either would make sense. Okay. Next time we have a look at the following sentence. See how many verbs we've got in this one. So we go through our words one at a time, looking for an OST mustis NT that's a verb. We've got filio here, but we know that that comes from the word filius, meaning son, and it's not standing in the right place anyway. We want it at the end of the sentence, and here it is, recumbent. Okay. What's the ending on the end of it? It's NT, so who's doing the action? We know that again is going to be they. I've changed colours from black to red, not quite certain how I did that, but there we go. I'll change it back to black again. So it means they. Looking it up in there in your critical content booklet, what recumbent mean? It's to lie down or to recline, which is what the Romans did when they ate their dinner. So bis per diem. If you look that up again in your vocabulary, you'll see it's twice a day. Julius et Lepidina. Julius and Lepidina, what do? They lie down, they recline. Cum filio et filia, with their son and daughter in triclinio in the dining room. The triclinium, we would call it a dining room. Then we look and see how many verbs we've got in the next sentence. Well, we've got rather a lot here. We've got the word rident, ends in an nt. We've got the word coquunt, and we've got the word est. 3 different verbs. So what are we going to do? We are going to put our horsey jump after the first one. We're going to put our horsey jump after the second one, and then we've got the full stop there, so we're going to stop there. So, first one, we've got rident. Look it up in the critical content booklet what that verb means, but it ends in an nt, so it's going to be they. Okay, so look it up. What do you think it means? It means they laugh or they smile. They are laughing or they are smiling. Okay, why are they doing that? Quod, because. Coquunt, okay, who's doing the action if it ends in an nt? It's they. Who's doing the action? Julius and Lepidina? Unlikely if they are Romans in a wealthy family. So is it they or is there somebody else? So we have a look here. We've got the word servi. Okay. Servi from servus, meaning slaves. And so who is doing the cooking? The slaves. Because the slaves, what do? They cook well. Now, if you want to check what servi is doing in the sentence, again, you want your critical content booklet, and I'm just going to pause this again and find the right page for you. Okay, I'm back again. So this is the very first page of your critical content booklet, which tells you about Latin nouns in the nominative case, about the fact that it's a naming word, the masculine words end in us, feminine words, or most of them, end in a, and the plurals. To make something plural, to make masculine nouns plural, take away the us and add I. So servus, slave, servi, slaves. And if we look back over here, we've got servi, so we know that that is nominative, it's the subject. Okay, so they are smiling. Why are they smiling? Because the slaves cook well. Et, and, now we know est, we've had it before, over here, it means is, so the slaves can't be the subject anymore because that's they. And this is. There must be something else that's the subject of the sentence now. Let's have a look. If we look at the word kibus in our critical content booklet, it means food. The food is optimus, very good. So that sentence becomes, they are smiling because the slaves cook well and the food is very good. Next sentence, we get our highlighter pen, find the verb, consument. Who's doing it? Ends in an nt, must be they. Look up the verb consumo, and it's the verb to eat. Okay. So, hodie, again, look up this word in your critical content booklet if you need to. Today, they are eating. What are they eating? Cassius. Cassium is the object, cheese, et piscem, and fish. Next sentence. How many verbs have we got here? So have a look through. Hopefully, if you press pause, find them, come back, and you will see that there are, hopefully, est, and accepit. So now what do? We put 3 lines to divide up our sentence. Okay, then it makes it so much easier. Lepidina laetissima est. Lepidina, we know that means is. What is she? Laetissima. She's very happy. Why? Quod. Because. We've just had that word hodie up here. Today. Est is dies natalis, birthday. So Lepidina is very happy because today is her birthday. Et, and, dona accepit, She is receiving, and if you look up this word in your critical content booklet, presents. Next sentence, much shorter this time, only one verb. Here's the verb, OST. It ends in a T, so who's doing the action? It's got to be he, she or it. Now let's have a look. Is there somebody at the beginning of the sentence, or is it referring back to Lepidina in the previous sentence? Well, there's nobody mentioned here. It's got an M on the end here, so we know it's going to be the object of the sentence, this tunicam noam. So it's still going to be Lepidina. So it's going to be she has. What does she have? Literally a tunic new. Don't want tunic new. Remember, we turn it round. She has a new tunic. Then the last sentence, much, much longer. So press pause. See how many verbs you can find. Divide up your passage. Right. Hopefully you have all come up with est, equitat and portat. And you have got a line after est, a line after equitat, and then obviously there's a full stop at the end of the sentence. So we translate it. Julius. Here's my verb est, which we know means is. Julius is quoque, look it up, also. Laetissimus, okay? Very happy. Remember, we've got laetissima for Lepidina up here because she's feminine, and he's masculine, so we've got that us ending here. Okay. Why is he happy? There's that word quod again. Because. Equitat, who's doing the action? It's he or she. Okay. And it's the verb to ride. Okay, so it means he, she, or it rides. So now we look at this word here. Is this one doing the action, or is it still Julius? Well, equum means a horse. It's from the word equus, and equus is masculine. When it takes a um, it's going to be the accusative, so it's still Julius. Julius is riding. Also, it's highly unlikely that a horse is going to be riding itself. So Julius is also very happy because he is riding a horse new. Remember, we turn it round and we say new horse. Portat, who's doing the action? Ends in a T, so it's got to be he or she. Is there anybody at the beginning of the sentence? Or is it still likely to be Julius? It's still likely to be Julius. Okay. He is wearing loricam, that's a breastplate, Roman armour. Et pilum, a spear. Et gladium, a sword. Porto can mean wear or carry. So Latin, you can use the same verb for saying wearing a breastplate and carrying a spear and a sword. So you can do it either way when you translate it. You can either say he is wearing a breastplate and carrying a spear and sword, or just put he's carrying a breastplate, a spear and a sword. Hopefully that's given you some idea of how to do translation from Latin into English. And the main thing is just take it slowly, look up the words one at a time, divide your passage up, and always find the verb. Make sure that you know who's doing the action, and then check the ending on the nouns. Okay? Is it an us word that's changed it to an in which case it's the object of the sentence, or an a feminine word that's gone to am? So that should help you. But the main thing is, get yourself some highlighter pens, take your time and divide your passage up like I've done here. Okay, good luck.